Having written about the two non-fiction texts separately earlier in section A, in the final question you have to compare both of the non-fiction texts, and you have to write 2 essays about them. So we're going to show you how to do that in the rest of this lesson. If the thought of having to write about the 2 non-fiction texts together is giving you a bit of a headache and making you feel rather like this lady here, because at the moment you've just got the hang of writing about 1 text at a time, you really don't need to worry, because you will find that actually writing about 2 texts at once is much easier than you think when you follow the simple steps I'm going to show you. Okay, let's start with step 1 then, for comparing these non-fiction texts. In step 1, we need to identify what aspect of the text we're being asked to compare, what the focus of the question is. Now, that's all very well, and you may be thinking, well, okay, that's fine, but how do I actually do that? Well, let's show you now. Now, when we are trying to identify the aspect, what we need to do is to look at the question. So let's have a look at a typical comparative question. Here we have the question, compare how the writers of text 1 and 2 present their ideas and perspectives about superheroes. When we look at this question, we're looking for the key words, those words that unlock that question and tell us what to focus on. So for that particular question, the key words are compare, ideas and perspectives about superheroes. So we're looking at similarities and differences about superheroes. So having done that, you know that you just need to focus your attention in on one particular aspect of the text. So that makes it much more simple. Having identified the keywords of the question in step 1, in step 2, you then need to go on and select the textual evidence that you're going to use to support your interpretation, and that needs to come from both texts. That's quotes from both of the texts that relate to the focus of the question. In step 3, having got your textual evidence, what you then need to do is to collate that textual evidence by grouping it into similarities and differences. So putting the quotes together that show the similarities and the quotes together that show the differences. Now, you may be sitting there at this point thinking, oh my goodness, stop, because I just don't understand what you mean by any of that. So let's slow it down and let me explain in a bit more detail how to do this. Let's start with step 2 then, selecting the textual evidence. Now this simply means finding quotes from both texts that you're going to use as your supporting evidence to back up the interpretation that you're offering. These quotes need to relate to the focus of the question, and they need to be relatively short. You need to break them down into short little sections. So start with a list of quotes that you might use from text 1. So there you can see we've got 3 good quotes. We then go on and do the same thing for text 2. And what you'll see from these quotes as they're coming up on the screen in front of you is that actually some of the attitudes, some of the ideas that are being presented are very similar to text 1. So this idea that superheroes is very male and it's a positive role model for boys. So you can see already that the texts match. The fact that we can already see some similarities in the quotes is a good thing, because in step 3 we need to collate those quotes by putting them together to show the similarities or the differences in the ideas and perspectives about superheroes. So we need to start grouping those quotes. You know, it really is as simple as that. So you're standing there thinking, okay, so it can't possibly be that simple. Well, actually it is. It's that simple, because what you have to do in each paragraph is to write about both texts. You have to write about a similarity or a difference about both texts using those quotes to help you do that effectively. So let's look at how we might group the quotes that we found earlier for this question about superheroes. So we group them into points, and each point is going to become a P paragraph. So the point is that superheroes are good role models for boys. From text 1 we have a quote that says this directly, so we can use that quote. In text 2 the writer takes it a little bit further, suggesting that these cartoon superheroes are substitutes for real male role models. So that's our first point. We then move on to the next point, which might be something like the fact that superheroes are aimed at boys. So we find a quote from text 2 this time, and then we go on and back it up with a quote from text 1 and show that it's a symptom of a sexist society, that it's aimed at boys. Okay, so now we're on to step 4, and this is a really important step. This is where we've created our plan and we turn those collated points into P paragraphs. We actually start to write our essay. So the way that we do this is to make each point and group of quotes into a P paragraph that forms the main body of our essay. And in each of those P paragraphs, what we're trying to do is to discuss one similarity or difference between both texts using our quotes as cross-reference. Let's see then what a P paragraph might look like for this question about attitudes about superheroes. So we begin by identifying a similarity, the fact that they both express the idea that superheroes are good role models for boys. We then provide our first bit of textual evidence from text 1, which is this statement that they are good role models for boys. In the explanation, we're showing an understanding of language by identifying it as a statement, and then we go on to provide a bit of evidence from text 2 in the form of this quote where the writer is saying that boys are turning to superheroes as a last resort because they don't have any real role models in the form of brothers or fathers or other kind of men in their lives. So their only outlet is fantasy superheroes. Now, what this answer is doing, you can see that the quotes are embedded and the explanations and the development are showing understanding of language, of intended effects of those quotes, and also of the deeper meaning, the connotations of that second quote from text 2, the wider implications for society. Hopefully now you feel like our lady here on the screen and you understand that comparing text is just a matter of a few simple steps. Identify the keywords of the question so you know what to focus on, and then you're ready to go and find some quotes that relate to that particular focus and turn each group of quotes into P paragraphs with embedded quotes and explanations. And do you know what? It really is that simple. So hopefully now the headache that you had at the start of this lesson has been replaced with a new sense of confidence, and you feel that you understand how to compare text, and you can go forward and do that effectively in the exams.